Hi, this is Margot. This is Monday evening, July the 1st, 2019, 6:57 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. We're going to look at space weather on spaceweather.com at the beginning of the show tonight because we've got energy, we've got space weather, we've got solar radiation, we've got cosmic particles coming in from this coronal hole here that's Earth facing right here, and we will be experiencing it in the next day or so. And there's also all this activity on the sun. There are no sunspots to speak of, but it doesn't mean that the sun is not active. So this is the coronal hole, but we also have areas where it's very thin, and so the solar radiation and solar wind can stream from the sun all the way through space to the Earth, and we're affected by these things. So there's that picture. It's from spaceweather.com, and it's from today. Here's their website. There's the picture of the sun that I clicked on for you. And every day they have a new report. If you want, it shows July 2nd because I think they're on UTC time. So it's July 2nd UTC time. It's July 1st for me still. But if you want to look at the archives, you can go and pick a month and a day and a year, and they've got all of their reports archived over here. So it's a wealth of information, and the solar minimum is here, but even now strangely beautiful auroras are dancing around the poles. Deep inside the Arctic Circle, the expert guides of aurora holidays at Itsuoki, Finland, can help you chase them. Book them now. So that's their little advertisement at the beginning. And tomorrow is, I think it's a new moon. Yep, new moon is tomorrow at 3:17 p.m. Eastern Time. And then 2 weeks, we'll have a full moon on the 16th at 5:39 p.m. Eastern Time. And tomorrow there's going to be a solar eclipse in South America. It's a sunset solar eclipse for residents of Chile and Argentina. They're about to witness a rare total eclipse of the sun. On Tuesday, July 2nd, the new moon will pass across the solar disk, creating a black hole in the sky just before sunset in the two South American countries. And here are the maps. Here's an animated one. And it's a little short video that plays. And you can see the path of the eclipse, what it looks like. It starts over here in the Pacific Ocean, and then it so as the sun is setting for them, it's also turning black and then coming back a little bit. And the whole thing lasts a little over an hour, I think. So there's a movie you can watch to see if you're in one of those areas. And if you want to watch a live webcast, here are all these different links, and this number 4 one is in Spanish. And then they have a photo gallery of real-time eclipses that you can look at. Next, we're in the middle of a meteor stream, a brush with the Beta Taurids. The Beta Taurid meteoroid stream has arrived, implicated in the 1908 Tunguska explosion over Siberia. The debris stream may be filled with rocky debris that poses a threat to Earth. An all-sky camera at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center recorded this Beta Taurid lazily streaking across over Huntsville, Alabama just before sunrise on June 28th. So there's that. And then you can click there and watch the movie. Earth is going through the outskirts of the debris stream now. It won't produce much of a shower, however, because the meteors are streaking out of a radiant point near the sun. Most of them are lost in glaring daylight. The meteor over Huntsville was a pre-dawn outlier. Beta Taurid debris comes from the breakup of a giant comet some 20,000 years ago, or so astronomers think. No one is 100% sure where they come from. Deep inside the dusty debris stream, there is a concentrated swarm of rockier objects nudged together by resonant gravitational interactions with Jupiter. This so-called Taurid swarm may contain potentially hazardous impactors. Astronomers are taking advantage of a close encounter between Earth and the swarm this summer to peer inside and inventory the swarm's content. Stay tuned for results. And here's some clouds from dust. This is, they're calling these dust-dilucent clouds instead of noctilucent clouds. Dust-dilucent clouds. Europe's killer heat wave may be creating a new type of cloud, the dust-dilucent cloud. Jose Jimenez of Andalusia, Spain, explains, on June the 29th we were stargazing with clients when we saw an unusual phenomenon. Just after sunset, a bright band of wispy clouds crisscrossed the twilight, and he snapped this picture. It looks like some kind of weird alien landscape, doesn't it? He goes on, I immediately remembered recent pictures of noctilucent clouds on spaceweather.com, but I know it is really difficult to see them here in southern Spain. I began to wonder if Calima might be creating a similar kind of visual effect. Calima is a type of foggy dust that sometimes blows over Europe from the Sahara Desert. Normally it does not rise very high in the atmosphere, but perhaps the puffed up air of overheated Europe has carried it higher than usual. The last days we reached 43 degrees C, or 109 degrees Fahrenheit, and we have a lot of Calima in our skies. Maybe the dust was so high that light from the setting sun illuminated it, akin to an NLC, creating the kind of dust-dilucent cloud, DLC, Jimenez speculates. Indeed, Europeans outdoors seeking relief from the heat at the end of the day should be alert for DLCs. Here's a photo gallery. Here's the fireballs that are in the sky right now. There are 60 fireballs that have been reported, and they're all coming in, and coming in right here is where they intersect. They intersect at Earth. Here are near-Earth asteroids. Right now, there are 1,983 potentially hazardous asteroids. Cosmic rays in the atmosphere. Here's your daily hot flights from June the 29th. So these are how many doses of X-rays you're going to get by flying, depending on what kind of flight you're taking and the altitude and the origin and the destination and the duration. They'll tell you how many doses of X-rays you're going to be getting. And you'll, because you're up there higher up in the atmosphere. Here's the noctilucent clouds that you can click on those and look at those. Here's the information on the coronal hole. Solar wind flowing from this coronal hole could reach Earth on July 4th or 5th, so in about 3 days from now. Our planetary K index, this is for the energy, the solar energy, is right now at 2, and for the last 24 hours the maximum was at 3. But I saw some information on YouTube how we just had a wave of energy hit this afternoon. So, but that's measured differently than here. It's measured with the magnetosphere, and I'm studying the graphs and things on that so that I'll be able to present that one of these days soon. So now let's take a peek at the Oroville Lake level. I told you yesterday that the lake level is going down for 2 reasons. Because they have increased the outflow at the Hyatt power plant and the inflow is less. But we saw that negative inflow yesterday for 2 hours, and no one left any comments speculating on what that could be. So I have no clue. But as of the 7 o'clock reading for specific time today, they're showing the lake level at 894.41 feet. And at midnight it was 894.89. So it's gone down. Almost half a foot since midnight. So, maybe they dodged a bullet. We'll see. But we're still going to keep an eye on it. And now let's get to our earthquake report. We have USGS pulled up here for all magnitudes for the last 24 hours, and we're showing 271 earthquakes worldwide. And of those, 41 are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So that's a very high number of the larger earthquakes. Very high. But and you can see lots of dots, and they're big dots. And this is a 6.0 in Vanuatu that came in at 10:13 this morning. All of these times I'm going to be giving you or telling you are Pacific time, because that's what my time zone is. And we've got big dots, meaning larger earthquakes all around, and so things are popping off. And with the solar wind and the wave of energy coming in, the magnetosphere doing some strange things, and we got a new moon and that eclipse, we're going to be seeing more earthquakes and volcanic activity. This is the first one that's about to come off the map. It's a 4.5 off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia. that came in last night at 7:46 p.m. We've been seeing a lot of activity right up here. This is in the little pivot point at the end of the Aleutian Islands, all the way across the Pacific, and this is Kamchatka, Russia. So there was that, and then there was a 5.5 right here up in the little corner that came in at 8:24 last night, and this is where the Pacific plate and the North American plate meet. These two tectonic plates meet, and so you're going to have extra force, especially where you see a corner like that. You're going to see a lot of earthquakes because there's extra movement there, which is what we've been seeing. Let's see what else is about to come off the map. Here's a 2.9 that came in at Koktovik, Alaska at 7:51 last night. So that's good size. That's getting up there. That could have been a 3. So that's right at the northern end of Alaska. So I think that's all we have to cover immediately. So I'd like to start, well, we've already shown these, so let's start down here in Africa, and we'll come around here, and here, and here, and then we'll come up here. So we're going to start down here in Africa, and in South Africa, which is, we don't see them very often down here. There was a 3.6 near Mlambanyasi, Swaziland at 1:28 this morning. Now that's not big enough to do damage, but you could feel it. So it was outside of that area, but that was the reporting station. Then coming up here, we had 2 in Iran. We had a 4.4 at 12:38 this afternoon near Shushtar, Iran, and a 4.1 at 5:13 this afternoon near Kazurun, Iran. And then we had this 4.5 near Jarm, Afghanistan at 6:10 this morning. This one was 98 kilometers deep. So we're seeing more movement over here on land. Now let's look at off the coast of Japan. Was a 4.3 near Toba at 5:06 this afternoon. This was deep, 354 kilometers deep, and that will cause movement of the tectonic plates around the planet when they're deep like that. Now down here in the Philippines was a 5.9. That could have been a 6. It was in the ocean, so that probably didn't do any damage. This was near Valencia, Philippines at 9:59 this morning. Very deep, 549 kilometers deep. So again, that was a large one too, almost a 6. That will cause movement of the tectonic plates. Then we've seen 2 over here off the coast of Sumatra. There was a 4.4 near Banda Aceh, Indonesia at 4:54 this afternoon, and a 4.8 near Sinabang, Indonesia at 3:58 this afternoon. Now there's a volcano over here. Here's Cinnabon. I'm not sure where the volcano is, but there is a volcano here. That might be it. Well, we can't get close in there. We'd have to check it out on Google Earth. But that's okay. You get the idea. 4.8. And anytime you see like a high 4, think 5. It could have been a 5. It could have been that they downsized it. Here's one. Looks like on land of 4.6 near Pindolo, Indonesia at 2:20 this morning. A 5.0 near Barat Daya, Indonesia at 1:39 this afternoon. This was 138 kilometers deep. I checked here for the tsunami warning, and there was not anything for that earthquake. So we got that one and that one and that one. Now let's come on over to the 6.0 near Luganville, Vanuatu. This came in at 10:13 this morning. 99 kilometers deep. That's a large one. If that had been on land, that probably would have caused damage. And but with it being in the water buffers those. Then we've got a whole bunch down here. We got 5 right here. 4.9 near Ohonua, Tonga at 7:19 this morning. 4.3 near Ndoye Island, Fiji at 7:47 this morning. Another deep one, 551 kilometers deep. 4.9 at Ohonua at 2 o'clock this afternoon. 4.9 at Pangai, Tonga at 4:36 this afternoon. And a 4.3 at Lambasa, Fiji at 5:47 this afternoon. This one was even deeper, 623 kilometers deep. So we're seeing some very deep earthquakes that are happening. And then down here in the Kermadec Islands, we're still seeing activity. There was a 5.2 near L'Esperance Rock, New Zealand, again at 12:56 this afternoon. That was in the ocean, so that didn't cause any damage. And like I've said before, I'm just amazed at all of the earthquakes that happen, and very little damage compared to the size and how many there are and everything. Most of them are in the ocean or in areas that are not very populated. I mean, as far as the big ones go. Now down here in the South Atlantic, there was a 4.8 near Viscoy Island, South Georgia, and the South Sandwich Islands at 12:51 this morning. Coming on up in Central America, we have another one at Panama, on the border between Panama and Costa Rica, a 4.4 near Aserio de Gariche, Panama at 5:24 this morning. 4.4 on land. That probably didn't cause any damage. Here's a 4.5 off the coast of Puerto Rico near Costa Rica. Why am I saying Puerto Rico? Costa Rica. Did I say Costa Rica down here? This is the border between Panama and Costa Rica. I don't know why I said Puerto Rico. 4.5 Sardinal, Costa Rica at 10:33 last night. So those are all of the international earthquakes right at this moment. And now we'll go to all magnitudes and look at Hawaii first. And they're having an event here in the ocean near Pahala. But let's look at these two up at Mauna Loa first. There was a 1.9 and a 1.8, both at Mauna Loa. And so total earthquakes are 11 for Hawaii today. So that means there are 9 right down here clustering. One is on land, this 2.3, and the rest of them are in the ocean here. Now look at that. Here's another one of those other events. And this was a magnitude 2.4. This happened at 1:24 this afternoon Pacific time. It was 43 kilometers deep. Now we've talked about these things that happen in the ocean here, and it is believed that there's like underground landslides, or maybe an underground or underwater volcano, or underwater landslides, or something that's, there's a lot of movement going on that's causing these earthquakes. So I'm just gonna call all these off. These are extraordinary. They're all in the 2s range. A 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.4, 2.5. There's that 2.4 other event. 2.5, 2.4, and that's it. And the last one came in at 3:04 this afternoon. The first one came in at 9:10 last night. So it could be that there's something happening here. Well, more than likely there is something happening there, otherwise we wouldn't be seeing that swarm or cluster of earthquakes going on. Then over here in the Caribbean, we have 11 here today. So that's gone down from yesterday. We're still seeing some larger ones. Here's a 3.2 on the Dominican Republic near Salva Leon de Higui at 5:21 this morning, 128 kilometers deep. Here's a 3.6 at Charlotte Amalie, U.S. Virgin Islands. Here's a 3.0 near Brenes, Puerto Rico. And then the others are under that. Here's a 2.0 at Juntas, Puerto Rico on land. So we've got like 4 on land there. Now these are not big enough to do damage, but still showing a lot of movement. Then so we got 1s and 2s, and then I already called off the larger ones, the 3s. Now let's hop on up to Alaska, see what's cooking up there. The Aleutian Islands look clear. And for Alaska, for all magnitudes, we're seeing 72 here today. Of those, 6 are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So we're going to look at those first. Here's a 3.3 near Kodiak, 2.7 Old Iliamna, 3.7 Valdez, 2.5 Skagway, and a 2.9 Koktovik, and a 2.8 at Kobuk. So those are getting up there. High twos and threes range in this, and kind of mid to high threes, 3.7. That's getting up there to 4. So let's move on in with all magnitudes and just look at the patterns of the earthquakes here in the Cook Inlet with our Redoubt and Iliamna volcanoes over here. Here's Anchorage with a few clustered around there. And here they are moving up from Anchorage, pushing up through the center of the state. Here's some of those larger ones that we just called off. Here's Fairbanks. We've got some around there. And let's see how many are at Kobuk today. We've got 10 here today. It looks like that 2.8 was the highest one, and the rest are in the 1s range. And then up here in the northern part, we've got 3 here. 2.9, 2.0, and 2.4, all at Koktovik. Then we've got more activity in the little armpit, is what I call it. We've got another ice quake, a 1.9 here at Cape Yakataga. Look at all these. Here's another one, a 1.6. Here's a 1.9 and a 2.0. Those are all ice quakes. And these are at the surface. This one is not. This one is 7.8 kilometers deep. This one was 18 kilometers deep. These two were at the surface. This is where the ice is melting or kind of breaking up and causes an earthquake when everything moves. Here's a 1.6 Yucatan, 2.5 Skagway, and 1.6 Skagway. So that's an uptick, I would say. And now down in the lower 48, we've got 156 here today. So we're going to start down here in Georgia. It's on the northern part of Georgia, almost on the border between Georgia and Tennessee. There was a 2.4 near Dalton. This came in at 9:16 last night. Then coming on across, nothing in the New Madrid hazard area. Now we've got Oklahoma and Kansas. We've got 4 here today. Here's a 2.5 at Perry, 1.7 Moreland, 2.5 Plainville, Kansas, and a 2.3 at Moreland. So that's still rocking along. Arizona's clear. Utah has 1, it looks like. Yes. No. 1.2 at Richfield, Utah. And then up here in the Yellowstone region, look at our activity today. We've got 11 here today. We've got a little stack right here, a couple right here. So I'll just call them off. 1.6 Manhattan, 0.9 Thomas Falls, 1.0 Lima, 1.4 Townsend, 1.9 Challis, Idaho, 2.6 Challis, Idaho, that's getting up there, 1.3 Polson, minus 0.3 Polson, 1.6 Challis, Idaho, and a 1.3 Polson, and a 1.1 at Whitehall. So we had 3 here in this cluster, and 2.6 was the highest on that. Then we had a couple up there. Now coming into the Pacific Northwest, in the Oregon and Washington region, we're showing 14 here today. Now before we look at those, we're going to look at our tremor map, and they didn't have data for 2 days, and now they got data for the 30th, and they're showing 76 epicenters, or 76 tremors on the 30th, which was yesterday, and they're in the 3 groupings here. This is to the west of Medford, Oregon, and this is near Roseburg, Oregon, and this is up in Northern California in the Klamath area. So that's where our groupings are from yesterday. And the tremors are what happens before it makes an earthquake. The earth shakes. It's called harmonic tremors, and it's a shaking that happens. And you can get an idea of what's going on before it actually develops into an earthquake. Here's a 2.1 Lake Marcel, Stillwater, Washington. Here's a 1.1 White Center, Washington. Here's a 1.1 Packwood right at Mount Rainier. It looks like it's right at the top, almost at the crater. Here's a 1.3 at Vancouver, Washington. Now this is almost to Portland, Oregon. So this is at the southern end of Washington. And then the rest of these are in the Mount St. Helens area. We'll start with this little one at 0.4 at Morton, and then the rest of these are at Amboy, which is Mount St. Helens, and it looks like they're right in that crater. That's kind of unsettling to me. We've got 9 here. I'm going to call them off. 0.2. This started at 9:26 last night. 0, 1.0, 1.3, 0.3, 0.2, 0.4, 1.0, and a 1.3. And that 1.3 happened at 2:39 this morning. Now, if you look real close, we had 1, 2, 3 of them all come in at 2:15 Pacific time, just within seconds of each other. This was at 31 seconds. That was the 0.3, and then a 0.2 at 34 seconds, so 3 seconds later, and then another 3 seconds later at 38 seconds was this 0.4. So this was, 4 seconds later from 31 to 35, and then 3 seconds later from 35 to 38. And the largest one was this 1.3. You had a couple of 1.3s, so in the ones range. So that's not nothing. It's small, but as we've seen in the past, small ones can and many times do lead to larger ones. Now here in Northern California, to the east of Redding, and this is Lake Shasta over here. Here's Lake Almanor down here. We had a 0.8 at Viola at 12:04 this morning. Then coming into the Reno area, we've got 2 here today, a 0.7 near Tahoe Vista, California, and a 0.9 at Cold Springs, Nevada. But it's actually in California there. Then 1.4 magnitude explosion near Gabbs, Nevada. Now remember we had a 4.2 here yesterday. Look at this. We're having an event here at Pioche. There are 30 here today. So whatever started yesterday, it's still going. So this point A is from 7:37 last night. This is at 0 kilometers depth, so that was at the surface. Now most of these, let's see if there are any others at the surface. Yes, here's a 1.4 at 0.3 kilometers deep. Here's a 1.0 and a 1.3, 0.8 and a 1.3. Those are all at 0 depth, so those are all at the surface. 0.7 at the surface, and so on. So you got a bunch of them that are at the surface, but we have them at different depths too, like a 6.2, 12.1, 1.9, and so on. 11.4. Just different. They're all different. So let's see what the highest ones were. Here's a 1.5, 2.0, 1.4, 2.3, 2.4, 2.3, 1.6. This 1.5 was the last one that was recorded. It came in at 12:41 this afternoon. Near the whitewash, and there's a road that goes right across it there. Panaca, it's to the east of Panaca, and there's an airport, Lincoln County Airport, so maybe something's going on underground. I wouldn't doubt it. You know, it could be mining, it could be blasting, it could be tunneling, it could be anything, considering the area. It could be anything at all. Then up here, get those off the map, at Alamo and Beatty, we've got 7 here today. These are at Alamo, and these are right near Area 51. And 1.8 and 1.6, those are the higher ones. 1.6, those are over here at Alamo, and then we've got a couple of small ones at Beatty. So you just never know. Here's 2 on the border. A 0.7 and a 1.1 on the border there. Then coming on up, got a couple there. Here's a 0.5 at Goldfield. And Hawthorne is clear. Nothing at Hawthorne today. So that's Nevada. Now let's come into California. And at Mammoth Lakes we've got 5 here today. And the largest one is this 1.8 at Tom's Place. Coming on down, this is the Coso Junction area. We've got 6 here today. The largest one is this 1.6 near Searles Valley. And the rest are main under ones, except for this 1.1 at Beatty. Up there, you can barely see it. Now, coming on down, here's a blast. 1.7 quarry blast at Boron. There's the Searles Valley. Here's a 1.5 near Nechok. Here's a 1.8 near Rosedale. That just came in. Now coming into Southern California. We're seeing 28 here today, so that's a smaller number than the last few days. So let's see if any of those are in the higher range. We've got a 2.6 near Semler. That's kind of up. It's not in the area that we're looking at right here. So that means all of these are under 2.5 magnitude. Here's one in the Salton Sea of 1.7. So we can see they're just peppered around. Here's a 2.2. And here's a 1.3 Home Gardens. Now let's look at Glen Avon. We've got 7 here today. And these are ones and under. I'm not seeing a lot of blasting, just that quarry blast there. So we're not seeing a lot of blasting, at least, for whatever reason. You know, it could be because this week is 4th of July, and that's on Thursday, and a lot of people, if the holiday is in the middle of the week, they take the whole week off. They'll just add vacation days to it so that they can get the whole week off. So maybe that's what's happening. So here's that 2.6 near Semler, California at 2:17 this afternoon. Here's a 2.0 Kolami, 0.4 Parkfield. Look at all of these. Now that's activity. Look at this. Here we got them stacked up. 2.3 and a 2.1 stacked at the Pinnacles. 0.7 Pinnacles. 1.1 Pinnacles. 0.6 Pinnacles and a 1.2 at Gonzales. So that's definitely an uptick, and these are higher. 2.3 and 2.1, they're getting up there. That's higher than we normally see there. There's a new one, 1.3 near San Martin, 1.5 Morgan Hill. We've got 2 here, a 2.5 and a 1.1 at Alum Rock. Here's a 1.2 Half Moon Bay. Looks like it's in the ocean. And then coming on up at the geysers, we're showing 25 here today. That's kind of an average number. Okay, we saw that. So that 2.5, the 25 is kind of an average number at the geysers. And these are ones, mainly like mid to low ones and under. The highest one is this 2.1. And then here's a stray, a 0.7 at Boonville. So we'll zoom out and see if anything else came in. 1.8 Rosedale. I showed that, I think. Oh, look. Here's a new one. Here in Oklahoma. Another 1.6 at Moreland. I might have shown that earlier. I don't remember. We've got a new one at Hawaii, a 2.8. Look at this. Let's go there. That's in between Mauna Loa and Kilauea. That's a 2.8. That's getting up there. It's 2 kilometers deep. That came in at 7:36 this evening. So with the in between those two, that's showing the magma is flowing. It's really flowing. Let's see what's going on in Alaska. Got some small ones. Alright. I think I should sign off before a whole bunch of earthquakes start coming in. Because that's what they do. If I sit here for another minute or 30 seconds, they'll all start piling in again. So we saw that 4.3 at Fiji that was 623 kilometers deep. We saw Iran, we saw Japan, we saw all of those. So I think that's a wrap. So I'd like to encourage people to get right with God and Jesus if you're so inclined. I do believe we are in the end times, and it's time to get your spiritual house in order and get ready to exit the planet. I think that's the most important preparation we can do. And we're seeing the evidence of this. This is why I'm reporting on earthquakes every day, so that we can keep an eye on the pulse of Mother Earth. And the pulse of Mother Earth is speeding up, and she's springing leaks everywhere. This is why I do the reporting on the space weather and the abrupt climate change and all the greenhouse gases, and especially the methane and sulfur dioxide and all of those. And it's going into overdrive, and everything's heating up, and I'm seeing paper after paper, report after report, where they're saying that the Earth is definitely heating, and it could be we're in runaway global warming now. Could be we're in that phase. It doesn't mean that the whole planet is hot all at once. For instance, I live in Reno, and it's been pleasant, very pleasant for the last couple of weeks, and it's been cooler than normal. But it's been hot a lot of other places around the world. Heat waves and breaking records and people dying, and cities and municipalities running out of water and all this stuff. And it just depends on where you live, and the wavy jet stream, and also the manipulated weather. I mean, you can't leave that out of the mix, because it is being manipulated, and we're seeing evidence of that too. So it's just, it's an overdrive now, and things are going to start happening faster and faster and faster as we move on into summer. This is 1st of July, and we're heading into the big race with the Arctic sea ice, and we'll be showing that a lot too. So anyway, that's it for today, and until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I'll talk to you soon. Good night.